Mena-Watch, der Talk.
Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuseher und Zuseherinnen, hier bei unserem Mena-Watch-Talk. Es ist uns eine besondere Freude, heute Yigal Carmon als Gast begrüßen zu dürfen. Yigal Carmon ist Präsident des Middle East Media Research Institute, besser bekannt unter seinem Kürzel MEMRI. MEMRI veröffentlicht Übersetzungen von Medienberichten und aus sozialen Medien, aus dem Arabischen und Persischen, aber auch aus anderen Sprachen, Türkisch, Pashto und anderen. Und MEMRI ermöglicht so Einblicke in Diskussionen, die sonst aufgrund der Sprachbarriere vielen Menschen in der englischsprachigen Welt verschlossen blieben. Bevor er für MEMRI gearbeitet hat, war Yigal Carmon 20 Jahre lang für den israelischen Militärgeheimdienst tätig und danach Berater in Sachen Terrorismusbekämpfung für die Premierminister Jitzchak Rabin und Schamir. Es ist also eine besondere Freude, diesen hochkompetenten Mann bei uns zu Gast zu haben. Mr. Carmon, thank you very much for being our guest. I know that you're a very busy man, so all the more thank you for finding the time for us. Let's start with the way the media coverage of this, the actual situation is done. In Europe, Al Jazeera is often regarded as a reasonable and respectable news station. There is sometimes talk of an Arab CNN or an Arab BBC in respect to Al Jazeera. What is your point on that? How is the channel viewed in the Middle East?
Al Jazeera is the megaphone of Hamas, 24/7 megaphone for Hamas, like Qatar itself. But this is a megaphone. I'm talking about Jazeera in Arabic. Jazeera in English is just an attempt to whitewash all their crimes. I will send you a special report on Jazeera, which we are doing now, but I have written about it before. They are lying, they are inciting against Israel, they are causing death of Israeli soldiers by their misreporting. I can give some examples, but like the story of the hospital was all a lie, but it created huge outrage in the world and endangering Jewish communities as well as Israeli delegations. But more than that, they are lying all the time. They lied that Israel is killing people going to the south. They showed the video that was all fabricated. That had nothing to do with reality. You can see it. They stopped after a while. With the hospital, they didn't stop. The incitement is just crazy. And the tragedy is that our Prime Minister, who is very careful not to antagonize Qatar in any way, blocked the closing of Jazeera because of this consideration, which is, in my view, an illegitimate consideration, because there is no need for Qatar in the whole. We'll get to this question. There is no need for Qatar for anything. They are representing Hamas. If Qatar were not there in the world, which I hope that it will disappear, and there is reason to believe that, then there would be Egypt. Egypt has peace with us. Why on earth do we deal with Qatar at all? Egypt is crazy about this situation, that Israel goes to Qatar instead of coming to them. And they hate the Muslim Brotherhood, which is the mother of the Hamas, and they are a lifeline for Hamas, and if there had been no Qatar, they would be the representative for everything, for hostages, for whatever. But that's why I say the argument of the Prime Minister for dealing with Qatar and for not closing Jazeera, after all the Israeli institutions said it should be closed, including the judicial advisor to the government, said to close it. She agreed. And he stopped it. And all the arguments are hostages, hostages, hostages. Who said we will need them for hostages? Not at all. There is Egypt, and it would be a better power to deal with Hamas. But anyway, Jazeera is the megaphone of Hamas, and I will send you, first of all, what we did in the past. I wrote about them in many articles, but also we do one specific about Qatar, about Jazeera. I want to tell you a joke about Jazeera. It's not such a joke. They want to say that they are exchanging children with children. Okay, so you look at the children that we are releasing, and they are children with the body of a 20 years old guy with a beard. These are the children. This is the shameless Jazeera to call them children. So there will be, and there is a special report, I'm looking at your question, that we did about what Arab regimes say about Jazeera. They say this is the Muslim Brotherhood channel. And all the Arab, and what is Qatar doing through Jazeera, but also in itself? They are dragging the Muslim world from progress, especially people in the West, in Austria, in other places. They drag them from Westernization and new values back to the values of the 7th century. This is the crime of Qatar. And therefore, and I'm saying what I will repeat at the end, as long as Qatar is allowed to continue, there will be no peace, neither in Austria, nor in Europe, nor in America, nowhere. And the communities, the Muslim communities, will be dragged to the 7th century Islam and not to the Islam that should be in Austria of the 23rd of the 21st century.
Now, I read that you were very critical of Qatar, as you just said and argued. You wrote at one time, Qatar is Hamas and Hamas is Qatar. Now, the argument here always is, okay, Qatar has good relations with the Muslim Brotherhood. We need someone with good relations in order to negotiate, for example, the release of hostages. What would your answer be? Why doesn't it need a good connection with Hamas? Why is it possible to just let them aside and choose different venues?
You don't need good connections. You need connections, just connections, not good connections. And Egypt has, I answered that. Egypt has all the connections. Without Egypt, Hamas is finished. And that's why there is another element that is far better than Qatar. And they have all the connections. The argument that we need them for the hostages is not true. The only one who needs Qatar is the Prime Minister, who needs to justify somehow the 10 years of collaboration with Qatar that brought upon us the catastrophe of October 7. He needs to normalize them. He needs to make them a good figure in order to say what I did 10 years is not so bad. They are good people. They help us. But they are the worst people ever. They built Hamas. They gave them, with the permission of the Prime Minister, the $1.5 billion to build Hamas as a military power, and no way to normalize them. And this is why our Prime Minister has an interest in normalizing them and showing that they are good while they are a catastrophe. I want to tell you something very tragic that relates to today. We saw in the media, there is a conference in the UAE, and our president was there, and there is a picture of him shaking the hand of the Qatari Emir. And the only thing I can compare it to is the meeting of Chamberlain with Hitler. And I'm going to write an article about it, Chamberlain Hitler 2023. I will write it in America. I will speak about it. Our president committed the worst mistake of his life. He will regret it. He will write about it that he's sorry for what he did. But this is absolutely insane to have the president. After all, it's worse because Chamberlain met Hitler before Hitler did all that. and our president meets him after October 7. This is so much worse. And he just, I don't understand. It's beyond perception. It's beyond anything that anyone can understand. How could he do that? He didn't know. If he didn't know, then he lives on the moon and not in Israel. And nevertheless, he did it. Diplomacy. This is Chamberlain Hitler. Chamberlain had a good goal. He was utterly stupid, but had a good goal. Our president, what goal was there? The release of the hostages? What is he going to thank? We released terrorists for the hostages. We paid for the hostages. What is there a need to thank Qatar? They forced us to release as if the hostages were released for the blue eyes of Qatar. No, Qatar demanded to release terrorists from our jails. So why thank them? On what to thank them? This is crazy. We are in a crazy situation. Just crazy situation. When Chamberlain met Hitler, it was a crazy situation, but it was still before the Shoah. This is after the Shoah.
One part of the situation is, obviously, one additional supporter of Hamas is the Lebanese Islamist terrorist group Hezbollah. Now, there has been, since October 7, constant debate about the threat of a major war between Hezbollah and Israel. Curiously, in European discussions, no one is listening to what the Lebanese people think about the danger of being dragged into a war that basically has nothing to do with Lebanon. So what do you get from Lebanese media? How is this threat debated in Lebanese media?
Well, you cannot talk about debate in the Arab world. There is no debate. It's not Austria. But to talk about opinions, all those who align with Hezbollah say, yes, we have to help, we have to do this. Also limited, not all, not, you know, Hezbollah has 160,000 missiles. They don't use them. They do along the border skirmishes. It's very bad, but it's still not the real power of Hezbollah. And all those who are not Hezbollah, the Christians, the other Muslims, they are all against it. And we have videos and we have articles in our site. I will send you, or you look at them. They are speaking against it because they are afraid. What are they afraid of? Let me repeat what is to be afraid of, because Nasrallah doesn't go all the way for two reasons. One, he knows that in 2006, Iran betrayed him. He went to war with Israel and they didn't come to his help. And he understands already that Iran fights to the last Shiite, to the last Yemenite, to the last Palestinian. They don't go themselves. But there is another reason in which I also participated in some way, and I will repeat it because it's important to spread it to the world so that they know. But I know that they know. Our leaders said already, if he goes against us full scale, we will bring them back to the Stone Age. How do you bring a country to the Stone Age? I explained it. We will hit their sewage, electricity, and water facilities. Now imagine Beirut, 2 million people without sewage. This is the Stone Age. Diseases, from another word, a human catastrophe that hasn't happened in centuries. One cannot even imagine the diseases that will come out of it. And he knows that by now. And if he didn't hear until now, in your website, it will appear again. I said it in Israeli TV, in Arabic, and it came out. This is our deterrence power, because we don't have, Florian, we don't have power against, defensive power against 160,000 missiles. We don't. We have to have some deterrence. This is the deterrence. and he understands it. Does this secure us totally and absolutely? No. It may happen that this criminal in Tehran may pressure him so much that he will do it. You cannot guarantee that. But as long as he's still with his independent consideration, he doesn't seem to be doing it. Now, let me talk in this connection something about Iran. Iran also stays away. They say we have nothing to do with it. Soleimani never visited Gaza. We support ideologically, which is a total lie, because they were training in Iran. The people we arrested are speaking about that they were training in Iran. But forget about that. They for now, Khamenei stays away, or plays that he is staying away. Now, I spoke on the Israeli TV, and I said something, and I know it was shown in Iran, and they cursed me and all kind. Good. What did I say? I said the following sentence: if the criminal in Tehran thinks that he can do another Shoah, another Holocaust, he is wrong, because him and all his people, 90 million, will be annihilated. And I can see corpses in amount that cannot be counted. I said it. And they showed it in Iran and cursed me and okay, good, let them curse me, I'm happy. They need to understand that this is their end, their total end as a nation. And this is what will happen. I hope this also goes out. I said it, and it was aired in Iran, but it's always good to say it again and again and again. And even that doesn't guarantee it, Florian. There is no guarantee with these people. And I call them people because the Nazis were people. They were people. Horrible, but people. And Khamenei is a human being, and we can call him many names. They are people, and they may do such things, like the Nazis did such things.
Yeah, it's just only so far that deterrence goes. Many people in Europe claim or act as if Hamas, as if there was virtually no criticism of Hamas in the Arab world and the Islamic world. Is that true? Is there no criticism about what Hamas did? Is everyone gathering behind Hamas and supporting Hamas?
Well, I wrote about it again in my article about the future. There is a phenomenon. It's very difficult to count, right? But what Hamas did is one thing. The solidarity with these crimes that was shown from one end of the world to another is another. I guess in Austria as well. The identification and solidarity with these crimes with Hamas was huge. Are there others? I would hope so. Are there some that write against Hamas? Very few, very few. I would think that there are more that are afraid. I must believe that there are more and that they are afraid, and I don't envy them, and I don't make any demands of them to rise up in such a world, including in Austria. The majority, the active majority, we don't know how many are they to be counted. Maybe you as a Jewish community can do some research about it, but they revealed that their heart is with Hamas. And therefore, the conflict will not go back to anywhere. As I wrote there is a Moroccan intellectual, Tahir Ben Jaloun. He's a lefty. He is an idol of the left in Europe. He said the Palestinian cause has been murdered on October 7. I would add, it doesn't exist anymore. They think that it exists. There are some idiots around the world that think that out of this war can come peace. This is delusional. no peace will come out of it. No Israeli will trust any Arab, any Arab. Of course, not for security, but even for other. We will live without peace with the Arab world, and we will flourish without peace with the Arab world. What was in the past a card for election, peace with the Arab world, will cease to be. It will be a liability, not a card for who cares. And by the way, about the Palestinian issue, Rabin, 2 weeks before he was murdered, left Oslo. He spoke in the Knesset and said the future of the territories is autonomy with the security in the hands of Israel. This is what it's going to be. No one is going to go beyond it. And when I talk to people, I ask them, would you go beyond it? Now I'm asking you, Florian, had you been an Israeli, would you go beyond an autonomy with security in the hands of Israel? Would you risk your life with security in the hands of the whoever is there?
No, of course not. Under the given circumstances, of course
anyone, not. Left, right, center, everybody. Now there is one consideration: security. All the rest is a bonus. Yes, no, who cares? It's not, doesn't matter anymore.
You mentioned peace with the Arab world. Many analysts said that one reason Hamas undertook this massacre and this attack was to derail the normalization process between Israel and Arab countries, especially, of course, Saudi Arabia is mentioned. What is your view on this? Is this process come to its end with this massacre, or what are the voices in Saudi Arabia, for example, in respect to this question?
Well, I tell you that Saudi Arabia is secretly doing things to protect Israel. There are missiles coming from the Houthis. Not only the American destroyer, the ships are stopping them, also Saudi Arabia. They could have an argument that they may fall in Saudi Arabia, so they have an egotistic argument if they want to put one, but they do it. But I want to say,
sorry to interrupt you. So you mean that Saudi Arabian military is shooting Houthi rockets out of the sky?
Is targeting Houthi missiles going to Israel. Also, the Americans do it, but also the Saudis are doing it. And if you ask the Saudis, they will not admit that they do it for Israel. They will say, this is flying over our skies. We don't allow that. Who allowed them to fly over our skies? So, you know, there are many explanations. The end result is that they target missiles going to Israel. Whatever reason, whatever, be it Saudi reason or for Israel, doesn't matter. They do it. Okay. But I want to say they need peace with Israel. We don't need peace with the Arabs. It was a bonus that disturbed the thought of Israelis to believe that they are not under danger anymore. Now, what did Hamas think? Did they think of derailing the peace or not? I don't venture to say, I don't know. The end result is that they destroyed any peace. That's the end result. But did they think of it, or did they think? We know what they say about that they wanted to destroy Israel. This is the ideology of Iran and the religious ideology of Hamas, destruction of Israel. This is what they went for. And they said, it is possible. It is doable. It's not an imagination. We can do it. And they almost proved it, almost. Now they see that it's not exactly happening, but on the first days, they had every reason to believe that they can do it. And the whole rhetoric of Iran, Nasrallah, Houthis, Hamas, Islamic Jihad is, we can destroy Israel. It's not a dream. I have a picture of Herzl here, and he says, if you will it, it's not a dream. Well, let me take this sentence to all these criminals. If you will it, it's not a dream. We can destroy Israel. We can.
But so far, none of the Arab countries that had signed the Abraham Accords has reneged on the Accords. Nobody has cut relations to Israel, as Iran, for example, has demanded on that meeting in Riyadh a couple of weeks ago. Every proposition of demand, every demand of Iran was blocked by Saudi Arabia, by Egypt, by other moderate, so-called moderate Arab countries. So they don't seem to go all the way back to the times before the Abraham Accords.
Right. It's not them who say we can do it. It's the others, Iran, Houthis, Syria. Yes, but what does it mean? Who cares? You know, Florian, who cares about it? Can Israel flourish without the Arab world? A question. Put the question to yourself as a website. Can Israel live and flourish without peace with the Arab world? I say definitely yes, and even better than what we had. And we were living without peace with the Arab world. And we flourished without peace with the Arab world. The Arab world needs peace with us. And I don't want to say, we should accept it if only if there are all the security guarantees. And if there are no security guarantees attached, then who needs that? Okay, so this very strong view on the Israeli perspective for the future. So, Mr. Carmon, thank you very much for being our guest. We don't want to steal any more of your time. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Thank you, Florian. Thank you.
Eine Produktion von Mena-Watch, dem unabhängigen Nahost-Think Tank. Auf unserer Website finden Sie täglich aktuelle Informationen und Analysen. Besuchen Sie uns.